My name is Andrew Rivera, aka the Handsome Cynic. I was in fact a minute late, not 5 minutes late. So my phone. Here it is. So I am live right now. I was a minute late, so there's not much I could do about that. I had a unexpected errand I had to run, so that's why I thought I'd be late. But turns out I was only a minute late, so it's not that bad. Let me make sure everybody knows I'm live. Hey, old man Barker, how you doing? Just making sure everybody knows I'm live real quick, and then we can get started. Jesus, I literally the day after WrestleMania, even. Yeah, I mean that WrestleMania was good to me. It was excellent. The main event might have been an issue. People had a problem with. I mean, I really don't. I really didn't, but I was gonna make a separate video explaining why Roman Reigns actually retained the title last night. So I don't know whether I'll talk about it here on the stream and then clip it out, and upload it, or talk about it in a separate video because depends how long this stream takes today, and I have time. Because what I'm going to discuss today is WWE sale to Endeavor. So that's the big breaking news today. And let me just do this real quick. All right. So today's stories are I'm discussing WWE sale to Endeavor. Big news, big breaking news we have today. Excuse me. And then we have this crap again. Old man back in the chair. Well, McMahon, he's not going to go away without a fight. So sweating. Excuse me, I'm sweating here, though. But yeah, the old man isn't going to go anywhere without a fight. So yeah, McMahon is back. He's the he's the executive chairman of this new company that's just formed. And quite frankly, to me, I mean, I'll talk about it further in a minute, but yeah, the hell is this? Why is there a dog for the Twitter logo? I'll show you. Hold on. I'll show you guys this real quick. Wait a minute. Make sure that. Okay, it's good. Look at this. Is it? I'm not sure you guys see this, but there's a goddamn dog there. That's right there. It's supposed to be a Twitter logo. Instead, there's a dog there. So I don't understand what that means. Is that Elon Musk trolling us or what? But but yeah, I mean, we all knew it's a matter of time before WWE was sold. I mean, but I'm surprised they ended up merging with the UFC and being owned by Endeavor. So that's very fascinating that they did that. Oops, let me go to my bookmarks. Hey Karen, how are you today? Yeah, I mean, so we're gonna talk about WWE sale. I'm gonna talk about WWE sale to Endeavor and their merger with the UFC. Then I'm gonna talk about the Russian blogger reporter that was killed in Saint Petersburg in a bombing. And then, if there's time, I'll also be discussing A Wall Street Journal reporter arrests in Russia for espionage. So a lot of interesting stuff going on today in the show. Hope you enjoy. Good, that's good. Let me make this bigger. So yeah, where's what did I do with it? I always lose everything. I always lose everything. I swear to God, it's like I always forget where things are at, and then I always forget where things are at, it, or I lose track of what I'm saying. Is my ADD just really kicking in? So there are times where I lose track of things. I apologize, but there isn't much. That's going to happen all the time. Wall Street Journal was probably a spy. It could be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that's the case, but right now, he's been arrested for allegedly spying and being a spy in espionage. So, again, I saw allegedly. I'm not going to say he was definitely a spy, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out he was. Anyway, so I'll get started with this. WWE officially sold to Endeavor, and Vince McMahon is chairman. He rose from the ashes yet again, emerged as even more powerful force. The way he's done his entire career, Vince does not have 9 lives. He's immortal. He's inevitable. He's MFing Thanos. Or Thanos. Yep. And he always survives. Not only survives, but he thrives. This is a Forbes article on it. I'll read some of this. 1 of 5 articles free. Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm grateful, Forbes. Give me an opportunity to read a free article. Why is this here? Oh, okay. I hate that. WWE sales to Endeavor, creating a $21 billion power horse. A timeline of events. Oh, if I actually... Sorry about that. I always forget to do that. It's like I think that I did it. I clicked on it and actually showing it on the screen, and it turns out that I don't. That I never actually do it, and it's really annoying when I forget to do that. Very simple stuff, but it's episode 12, so I figure by this point I'd be able to do it. But of course, I always forget. Okay. WWE has officially been purchased by an Endeavor in a blockbuster deal that will see WWE and UFC merged into a publicly traded company worth over $21 billion. Endeavor emerged as a favorite to purchase when the betting odds were released at the beginning of the year, with Ari Emanuel leading the group listed at 900, plus 900. Jeez. I mean, are we betting? Or is Wall Street really betting on who buys a company or not? I mean, that's ridiculous. The possibility that it be going private under Endeavor led many to believe it could be an attractive buyer for McMahon, who last year was ousted from WWE due to an investigation from his board of directors. Instead, WWE will remain a publicly traded company alongside UFC to form a sports entertainment powerhouse. Together, we will be a $21+ billion live sports entertainment powerhouse with a collective fan base of more than 1 billion people. An exciting growth opportunity, McMahon said. I, along with the current WWE management team, look forward to working closely with Ari and the Endeavor and UFC teams to take the businesses to the next level. Yeah, McMahon's back in power, ladies and gentlemen. He's not going anywhere. McMahon is not back in. All the man does is work. Soon they will, as they sent him home, he worked away. He worked a way to get back to work. It's exactly what he did. When McMahon was forced out last summer, I mean, I remember thinking to myself, he ain't gonna be gone long. Like what? What, you actually think he was gonna be gone? Like just go home and do what? Just twiddle his thumbs, drink a Mai Tai, and wait to die? That's not what he does. That's not what Mr. Man does. I've been watching his 77 or 78, I believe. Hold on, let me see. Let me double check that. 77. He's born August 24th, 1945, so 77. He'll be turning 78 in August, so he's 77 years old. Yeah, he's 77. And I'm going to show you a clip of McMahon in a minute when I finish reading this. He looks like it's like he used too much Just for Men gel. I mean, his hair is like super black, and he has a mustache too, which is weird. McMahon will remain as executive chairman of the board, while Emmanuel will lead the company as CEO, and Mark Shapiro would be president and COO of both Endeavor and the new company, per the terms of the acquisition. Dana White and Nick Khan will maintain their roles as president of UFC and, and president of WWE, respectively. Over the past 6 months, WWE has endeared itself to its fans through the Triple H era. The new and imagined WWE translated to massive increases in ratings and more critically acclaimed WWE programming. With Vince McMahon recently reinstated as chairman of the board and now employee at WWE, his full-time return to creative seems like all but a formality. McMahon was reportedly supervising backstage during WrestleMania weekend. Yeah, I mean, he's fully back, it seems like. McMahon said in return to WWE board of directors to force a sale of the company, one of the most unlikely stories of 2022-2023, especially given how ugly his downfall was. But those who cover Vince McMahon, a war-ready carny, defined by his manic tenacity, should hardly be surprised. I'm not surprised. I've been a WWE, WWF fan for over 30 years. I know he wasn't going to go away long. This is the timeline of McMahon's retirement, his return. I'm not going to go through all this because if you've been following this, you know the story. Stephanie McMahon resigns. They'd be subject to bogus reports of sale to Saudi Arabia. Now that one is a big one. I specifically remember that night when those rumors broke, and I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's true. And in fact, I made a thumbnail about 6 months ago that basically said, just in case the sale was real, I made a thumbnail. I was going to talk about it. I'd make a video on it. Of course, it never happened. So the thumbnail is probably sitting somewhere in my Canva page or whatever it is, where I make my thumbnails. It's probably still sitting there somewhere. So, yep. And turned out those were bogus, which were not real. McMahon signs a WWE employee contract, March 31st, 2023. Vince McMahon signed a 2-year employment contract with WWE in a deal that dated back to January 9th, 2023, per SEC filings. WWE actively remained in talks to sell the company as WWE hosted several prospective buyers on WrestleMania weekend. WWE sales to Endeavor, which has been announced today. On WrestleMania Sunday, CNBC reported that WWE was expected to be sold to Endeavor, and the sale was made official in an announcement on Monday, April 3rd, 2023. WWE would now form a UFC to form a $21 billion publicly traded company. So, that's it. That's that. That is that. So, McMahon is back, fully in power, and there's nothing we can do about it. So, here is the SEC filing. This is the SEC filing, making the sale official, letting the SEC know about the sale. So it's not, obviously this is real. This is not fake in any way, shape, or form. On April 2nd, 2023, World Wrestling Entertainment Inc., a Delaware corporation, entered into a transaction agreement by and among the company, Endeavor Group Holdings Incorporated, a Delaware corporation, Endeavor Operating Company LLC, Delaware Limited Liability Company, subsidiary of EDR, Super Parent LLC, Delaware Limited Liability, blah, blah, World Wrestling Entertainment, blah, blah, all that legal mumbo jumbo. Pursuant to the transaction agreement, among other things, subject to the waiver, blah, 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 WWE. Anyway, this is the SEC filing. I'm not going to read to the minutia of this because that seems really boring. Here's a tweet from Endeavor. Let's see. Today, Endeavor announced that it signed an agreement to form a $21+ billion global live sports and entertainment company made up of UFC and WWE. There's a link here. I don't know. Okay, this is more of legal mumbo jumbo stuff. Hold on a second. Excuse me. Jesus Christ. It's 65 degrees. I wonder why I'm sweating so much. Let's see. Oops, actually do this. It's easier. This is probably the same thing that I read. This is a rare opportunity to create a global live sports entertainment pure play built on where the industry is heading. For decades, Vince and his team have demonstrated an incredible track record of innovation and shareholder value creation, and we are confident that Endeavor can deliver significant additional value for shareholders by bringing UFC and WWE together. Yeah, this is just... that's not really that important. Excuse me. So I'm gonna go to a CNBC coverage on this. It's like, here it is right here. Oops, wait a minute. Damn it. There we go. Here we go. Alright, so this is the report from CNBC, so it's like 5 minutes, so it isn't that bad.
I asked Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel and WWE founder Vince McMahon how this all happened during our exclusive interview on Sunday in Los Angeles.
This is the biggest thing Ari Emanuel and Vince McMahon have ever done.
Yeah.
Combining forces like this there's nothing like this. There's never been anything like this. People have been talking about this for a long time.
There were a lot of other suitors
sure they
here.
were, but Ari, really, the synergies, everyone was very interested in this, and I appreciate that. But the synergies that Ari brings...
Wait a minute.
Really, the synergies, everyone was very interested.
Look at McMahon. You see that? He used way too much Just for Man gel. Not only on his hair, but also on his on his mustache here. He used way too much gel. I'm like, what the hell? I thought the mustache pictures were fake because I thought it was Photoshop because McMahon never had any facial hair in his life. Now all of a sudden there he is with a mustache. I'm like, what? That was real? Holy crap!
In us, and I appreciate that. But the synergies that Ari brings, totally different than everyone else.
That said, many doubted we would ever see this day, that you would ever be willing to sell a controlling stake in your company.
Right.
You are the WWE, and the WWE is you. So why?
It's the right time. It's the right time to do the right thing. And it's the next...
That's gibberish. McMahon's like, well, it's the right time to do the right thing. No, that's not the real reason why. The real reason why, because WWE's their TV agreements are coming up with both Comcast and with Fox, or NBC Universal and Fox, and they're getting like $1 billion a year for the rights to broadcast Raw and SmackDown. And since people are cutting the cord and there's no more, fewer and fewer people have cable, what's going to happen? Those TV rights deals will go down, and the value of WWE will go down based off that. That's the real reason why. So he's trying to sell it long before those TV rights deals come up, so it wouldn't be his problem, and he wouldn't lose any value on his stock in his company. That's what it was about. That's the real reason why he sold it, not because of it's the right thing to do at the right time, whatever he said. Well, you see, they sent me home, and he plotted his way back. As soon as he was forced to retire, he was plotting. It's like, how do I come back to my company? Those goddamn sons of bitches took me out of my own company. How do I come back? I know, I'll just blackmail. I'll just basically force my way back to the company. I'm still the majority shareholder. That's how he did it. I mean, it took him a few months to do it, but eventually, he forced his way back into his own company. He removed the three members of the board, if you remember that whole thing. It's like, oh yeah, you, and you're gone, And oh, by the way, my daughter, she resigned the CEO, Stephanie McMahon. Of course, he forced her out. Well, you think that he didn't force her out and put Nick Khan as CEO, who was his patsy? Of course, he did that. That's why as soon as Vince came back, all of a sudden Stephanie resigned in order to spend more time with her family. That was a bullshit excuse.
Next evolution of WWE. I could probably do what Ari is right now with UFC. It'd take me 10 years. By the time I would grab those 10 years, you'd be 10 years ahead again. So it's like, it makes all the sense in the world for all these synergies that we have to extract all of the value we can out of the marketplace.
Who, Stephanie? Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. Vince is the originator. I mean, he's the one, he's like the first cutthroat businessman in the family. So, of course, Stephanie ultimately lost that battle, and she was forced out. Because when she became CEO, that was like her lifelong dream, to become CEO of WWE. But, of course, when Vince came back as executive chairman of the board, that's when basically Stephanie was gone. I think that day or the next day she resigned as CEO. So she lost that battle. Of course she's going to lose. I mean, McMahon wasn't going to lose that battle. Vince McMahon, I mean.
The deal values UFC, you mentioned some numbers, $12 billion and WWE at $9.3 billion. That's a big number. Well, WWE's market cap is 6.5.
Here's what I would say to you. Exactly why we did this, because I think we were...
WWE has been sold essentially for $9 billion. The company's only worth $6. So why did they do that? Why did Ari, this dude here, I forget his name right now, why would he buy a company that's for $9 billion is only worth $6? There has to be a reason. They figured that with Triple H in charge of creative and storylines, it's the profit margins will be worth it in the long run. I tell my kids all the time, don't fuck with dad. Yeah, I mean, shit. It's true, especially if you happen to be the son or daughter of Vince McMahon. Of course, that's always true. Don't F with dad, Dad is always going to win.
In getting the pure value, I don't think
Ari
WWE
Emanuel, okay.
was getting the pure value. Combined, it's rarefied air, the two of us. And I think the analysts will be able to do it. It's good for the shareholders of WWE and for the shareholders of Endeavor. And then when you look back, I don't believe that the Endeavor shareholders were getting pure play for the rest of the asset that we had. And I think for the first time, you now have the ability to do that in both situations. And that's a win-win, which is what Vince and I have always talked about.
When I throw those kind of numbers out to you, I mean, the word on the street was that you wanted $9 billion. This values the WWE at 9.3.
Right.
So despite everything that's happened...
I'm a visionary.
Well, you...
He got exactly what he wanted. That's like the worst part about this. Vince McMahon wins again. He got exactly. I remember when he wanted $9 billion for WWE. I'm like, who the fuck's gonna pay $9 billion WWE, other than the Saudis? That's why I thought the Saudi deal might go through at some point if the Saudis were interested. They'd be the only people who would pay stupid enough to pay $9 billion. That turns out I was wrong, of course. Endeavor gave McMahon $9 billion, essentially. And now McMahon's an employee or the executive chairman of this new company that's about to be formed. So he got exactly what he wanted. Again. I mean, geez, part of me wishes I was Vince McMahon. And he gets whatever he wants when he wants it. Look at the smug Look at the smug smile on McMahon's face. I'm not sure you guys can see it because it's so small, but he's like this. I mean, like, I'm a visionary. He's so smug. Like, he got exactly what he wanted.
Well, you hit the number.
Yes. Deservedly so.
The evil smile to the evil laugh. It's like he's his character from Mr. McMahon character. There, it's like I always get what I want. You have no chance in hell. You know.
Here's what I would also say to you: we paid a fair price,
Yeah.
and I'll.
A fair price. Wait. WWE's valued at $6 billion. You paid $9 billion or $9.3 billion. How's that a fair price? It seems like McMahon screwed you over. That's what it seems like. You paid $3 billion extra dollars when you didn't have to. So I don't know what makes him think that all of a sudden, we paid a fair price. Based on what? I don't understand how this Ari Emanuel dude thinks that he paid fair price in WWE when he clearly looks like he got screwed over in this deal. Unless there's a expectation that WWE will produce more profits, the same amount of profits they're producing right now. That's the only way this makes sense.
I'll tell you why. We paid a little bit for control premium. With our cost cuts, their new deals coming up.
Yeah, it's based on future earnings. That's exactly what I'm thinking too. That's what I just said. It's based on they're hoping that WWE's profit margins will continue to hold or even grow over the next few years, and that would be up to the only way that'll happen though is the next television deals, or wherever or if they move Raw and SmackDown to Amazon, or they move it to Netflix or something. If Netflix or Amazon's willing to pay a premium price to have Raw and SmackDown streaming on their platforms, then that's the only way where they probably would maintain these profit margins that they have now. That's the only way this makes sense. That they're expecting the profits their profit margins to either maintain as they are now or grow even.
Up, which is right now, and our cost savings that we think we can extract from the business right now and grow the business with all of our levers, whether it be international sales, domestic, sponsorship, gambling, all the things that we do.
I'm not sure how many people here actually watched WrestleMania this past weekend, but the show, oh my god, it was full of advertisements. It seemed like every match had a sponsor, and they kept plugging the sponsors throughout the matches. I'm like, oh my god, it was so cringe at times. There was this one match in particular, I forget which match it was, that had like a Captain or Cinnamon Toast Crunch, a person in a Cinnamon Toast Crunch cat statue or a costume outside the ring. The whole match. I'm like, oh my god, it's so cringe. It's so goddamn cringe. It was like I've seen this thing there, and all I can do is watch that thing. I didn't really pay attention to the match too much. I forget which match it was, but it's just so cringe. It's like, oh my god. But here's the thing: as long as I don't have to pay $80 for a pay per view, I'll deal with the goddamn advertisements. Because I'm not ordering WWE pay per views every month at $80 price tag. That's not going to happen. So I'll deal with the goddamn advertisements. But sometimes it's so cringy. It's like, ugh. It's just so brutal to sit there and watch those advertisements. All right, but I digress. I mean, that's not really that important. But I'm just saying, the advertisements were just annoying throughout the WrestleMania weekend.
I think it's right. I would also say to you is, when I bought IMG, everybody said I overpaid. It was actually one of the cheapest deals in sports. For sure, when I bought the UFC, everybody was like at $4.2 billion. They were like crazy. We've tripled the EBITDA in that period of time. And now with this is going to be UFC 2.0 as it relates to all the things in the flywheel that we can bring to them. And we have unbelievably attractive economics. The balance sheet's incredible. Our debt ratio is less than 3 times. Our free cash flow conversion is unbelievable. So
that's all technical public company talk. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Here's one of the reasons why WWE's profit margins are so high right now. It's because of the pandemic. if you remember back in 2020, WWE did not run live events. They fired a bunch of wrestlers for no good reason, and they fired a lot of big money contracts. So which is why they were able to keep up with high. So there were no live events. They were there were no. They fired a bunch of wrestlers, so they saved millions of dollars there. And on top of that, just remember also, there's no union. The wrestlers don't have a union in WWE, and they're also called independent contractors. So basically, what that means, they don't have to. WWE does not have to provide health insurance. They don't have to provide 401ks. They don't have to provide life insurance. They don't have to provide anything like that. Any benefits that a normal employee would get, WWE wrestlers don't get it, and neither do UFC fighters. By the way, they're not unionized either, which is why. Excuse me. Which is why profit margins for these two companies are insane, because they don't have to give employees these fighters slash wrestlers, who are ultimately employees, but they're not classified as such. As they're not. So, which is they're not unionized. Neither the fighters nor the WWE wrestlers. And of course, McMahon is a master union buster. There's very few people union busting more than McMahon, and gotten away with it too, by the way. I mean, I can go back to the old Jesse Ventura story from 1987 or 88, where he tried to unionize the wrestlers. I think it was 80. Wait, WrestleMania 1 is 84. So that'd be 85, where Jesse Ventura tried to unionize the wrestlers before WrestleMania 2. He was like, okay. It's like, this is our chance, guys. We can unionize right now. We can get whatever we want from McMahon. Because if we walk off the job, WrestleMania 2 doesn't happen, McMahon's screwed. So you're going to have to give us what he wants. Of course, he didn't. Of course, somebody ratted him out. One of the wrestlers ratted out Jesse Ventura to McMahon, and McMahon, of course, fired some wrestlers and squashed any attempt of union at the time. We know who ratted him out. Yeah, exactly. Old man Barker here gave it away. Hogan stooged him to Vince. That's exactly what he did. And Jesse Ventura didn't find out 2 years later when he sued McMahon for royalties. He didn't find out 2 years later when during deposition, Jesse's lawyers asked McMahon, "Hey, yeah, exactly." He learned during deposition. He had his lawyer ask McMahon, "Hey, did any of the wrestlers ever try to unionize WWF at the time?" McMahon's like, "Oh, I think Jesse tried once." It's like, "How did you find out about it?" And McMahon's, "Oh, Hogan told me," or Terry Bollea told me, which is Hogan's legal name, which is like. And then Jesse was shocked because he didn't know. In fact, he thought Hogan was his friend. They were really good friends at the time. And after that, Jesse told the story that he hasn't spoken to Hogan since. It's been, what, 40 years, almost 40 years since that incident. He hasn't spoken to him since. Which is, I'm like, really? I'm not surprised Hogan stooged him. Hogan was making money hand over fist. And if the WWF then unionized, he'd make less money. So it's not again. Hogan's a scumbag. Hogan's a liar, as we all know. If you follow wrestling, Hogan's an infamous liar. He's constantly lying about everything. Even stories. I can do a whole 30-minute video talking about Hogan's lies. I mean, they're legendary. And I grew up loving and watching Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. But WrestleMania 6, I think it was, Hogan and Warrior. Holy shit, that was a match. I mean, me and my friends back then, we were debating who's going to win that match. It was Hogan or Warrior. I thought Warrior would win the match because he was the up and coming star and Hogan was kind of older. I mean, that was my argument. And it turned out I was right, of course. The Warrior won the match, but still, I mean, but I digress from that. That's not really the point. The point is, Vince McMahon's a master union buster. And when Ari Emanuel said that he insisted on McMahon being part of this company, I'll get to that in a second. I think they talk about it here. But yeah, I was Little Hulkamaniac. I was born in 1986, so I'm 36, about to turn 37. I forgot how old I am. I'm 36. I turned 37 in August. And what was funny, I loved I love. Don't get me wrong. I loved Hogan too. But when the Warrior came across, as the Ultimate Warrior, I was like, holy shit, this dude is psychotic. But I didn't understand his promos. But at the same time, I was like, oh, it's so awesome with the face paint and the hair and the his tassels. He ran. It was awesome. I thought, and I was like, oh, Warrior got to be a champion, you know. And he beat Hogan clean, which by the way is rare. Hogan never loses clean, but he lost clean there. So, but I digress. Again, I'm getting too much into the weeds in wrestling. You know, I mean, I can talk about wrestling all day, but I'll keep going because, or else I'm gonna go through WrestleMania history here and bore some of the audience. So let's keep going.
So I think when people look at this business on a combined basis and also look at the remaining assets for both shareholders, it's incredible.
Now, the new company will have Mr. Emmanuel as CEO with current WWE
All right, so this is the new corporate structure.
CEO Nick Khan staying on as president of the brand.
All right, so this is the new corporate structure. As you can see, R. Emmanuel is the CEO. Vince McMahon is the executive chairman of the company. Mark Shapiro is the president and COO. Dana White still remains as UFC president. And Nick Khan is now the WWE president. So that's the new corporate structure. I was born in 82, so okay. Well, yeah, Hogan became champion, in 84? In January 84, beat the Iron Sheik, if I remember my history correctly. And Hogan was champion for 4 years. He dropped it in 88? I mean, it was an incredible run. It was a 4-year run. And when he dropped it, I was 2 years old. Okay, so saw that show on a big screen in Northlands Coliseum, old home of the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, I'm not that old, but yeah, I mean, was that WrestleMania 1 you're talking about, or which show? When Hogan dropped the title? So that's the new corporate structure there.
The brand, Dana White continuing as president of the UFC, while Mark Shapiro assumes the role of president
WrestleMania
and
6, okay.
of both Endeavor.
So, yeah, Hogan Warrior. It was early 90s. I would have been at my mother's house. Of course, I live with my mother, but I would have been there watching it. How much? I don't remember how much the pay-per-view was. It might have been $30. So I'm trying to think because I begged and cajoled and cried and through temper tantrums because I was 86. This is what? When WrestleMania? 91? 90? I'm trying to think. Why am I forgetting when WrestleMania 6 was? It's in the early 90s. I was still 4 or 5 years old. I cried, cajoled, and I, I, I did everything I could to get my mother to pay the $30 or however much a pay-per-view cost. And at the time, it was too expensive, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, it's Hogan Warrior, though. Come on. This is like the biggest match of all time. The hype of that match. I had to see that match. I didn't care, even if I had to, whatever. Even if you know what I almost did, and I convinced my mom to order it at the time. This is early '90s. Quick story. I called. You had to call in to order the pay-per-view. April 1st, 90. So I was 4 years old. I took down the phone number. I was ready to order that pay-per-view without telling my mom. I was like, well, I ordered the pay-per-view. She'll be mad, but she'll have to pay the bill anyways. And I was 4 or 5 years old then, and it was like, but I was gonna do it because eventually she did it. I mean, of course she did. It was, she wanted to see the match too, but she was like, it was way too expensive. So I saw the match, and she ordered it finally, and we watched it. I didn't care. I just wanted to see that match, and it was like Warrior winning the title was arguably like, at the time, it was like the greatest moment in my childhood. But I digress again. If I keep going on, I'll just keep blabbling about WrestleMania 6 all day, even WrestleManias in general.
And the new company. The wild card throughout the bidding process was what role, if any, WWE founder Vince McMahon would play in a new company after a sexual misconduct scandal. McMahon was forced to retire thereafter. He left the company for nearly 6 months before returning to help lead a potential transaction. Most had assumed McMahon would leave altogether if a deal happened. He is staying on as executive chairman of the board at the behest of Emmanuel himself. Even so, I asked McMahon about the emotions of parting with a business his father founded in 1953, and whether the scandal that rocked the WWE and McMahon himself ultimately led to this moment. I can't help but wonder, and I have to ask you, had the scandal not happened,
Right.
would we be sitting here today?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because it makes sense. Nothing's ever happened like this before. And again, I'm always looking what's best for our stockholders, what's best for the company. This is the best thing that's happened.
Yeah, that's bullshit. What he's looking at is his own stock value. That's what he cares about. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the stockholders getting this money is a secondary thing. What McMahon's worried about is like, oh my god, if these television deals are up and I haven't sold the company by this point, the value of my stock's gonna go way down because it's probably gonna get less money for television rights. It's gonna be less than $1 billion a year. What they're paying, what Fox and NBC is paying for Raw and SmackDown right now. So if I sell the company now, it's not gonna be my problem. I got my money. It's gonna be Ari Emanuel's problem. He's the CEO now, so that's gonna be his problem, not mine. That's why he sold now. He isn't stupid. McMahon's a lot of things, but he's not stupid. He isn't Trump, you know. I mean, his buddy Trump, you know. But Trump's a kind of an idiot, but he's smart. McMahon is smart. I mean, he doesn't have the added excuse that he's an idiot like Trump is. Even though Trump was elected president, so I don't know how stupid Trump really is, but that's a whole nother thing.
Long time. All of the WrestleManias combined have been 39, including tomorrow. Does it really equal to the magnitude of what we will do together?
Did that event push you towards this day faster than you thought you'd ever be here?
No, it didn't really. In and of itself, no. But it's...
I can't get over how terrible that mustache is. Whenever McMahon's talking, they do a close-up on his face. I can't stop looking at that mustache. It's like that scene in Austin Powers 3. Have you? I assume you guys have seen that movie. It's like the scene where Michael Myers is looking at this other dude. I forget who it is, and he has a mole in his nose or on his cheek or something. And Austin Powers stares at it the whole time, and then he's like, "Moly, moly, 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 moly." I'm kind of like that McMahon's mustache. It's like. I'm just staring at that mustache the whole time. It's like, oh, so awful. Such an awful mustache.
Great that we can combine all of this news together at the same time.
Is this a good day for Vince McMahon and the WWE, or is it a great day? Is it a tough day as well?
My life.
This company's been
of course it is. It's one of the best days of his life. He got $9 billion for WWE when it's worth $6. Of course, it's the greatest day in his life. Well, this CNBC reporter is like, is this a good day for Vince McMahon? It's like asking some of the dumbest questions of all time. Of course, it's a great day for him. You don't have to ask him that. It's like, well, I'm assuming you're gonna say, well, I'm assuming it's one of the best days in your life. You just got $9 billion for a company that's worth $6. So yeah, I mean, this must be an incredible day for you, right? I mean, come on.
Your family for 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a tough day?
No, it's a great day.
Oh well, Mr. McMahon. Here's the thing: the WWE's been in your family for 70 years. I mean, this has to be, you have to have it. This has to be partly bad, right? It was like, no, it's a great day. Well, you think he gives a shit that his father founded his company in 1953, in 1953 he said, and it's been in your family for 70 years. I mean, come on. I mean, you have to have some sort of negative feelings, right? It's like, no, I mean, I got $9 billion for companies for $6. Of course. I mean, it's a great fucking day for me. It may not be a great day for Ari Emanuel if WWE doesn't produce the profits that he thinks it will. But, I mean, it's not my problem. It's his problem now. He's the one that bought this company, for $9 when it was worth $6. So I don't give a shit anymore. I'm, Vince McMahon is one of the best businessmen of all time. Period. Yes, he's anti. Yes, he's anti-union. Yes, he union busted. Yes, he did a lot of fucked up shit. But it doesn't take away the fact he's one of the greatest businessmen in the 20th century. Now I want to quickly show another clip if I can find it. I think I might have. Did I? Oh, here we go. Let me show this real quick. There's another clip in that interview which CNBC didn't play in their report. For sure, in the interest of his businesses. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he only cares about the WWE and his business. I mean, he doesn't care about any of that. But to me, he's one of the greatest businessmen in the 20th century. I mean, it's not often that a businessman comes back over and over and over again and somehow wins. He's also responsible for the Trump character. Yes, that's one people don't really talk about too much. When Donald Trump ran for president in 2016, that character that he played, that heelish character that he played when he ran, that was the WWF or WWE. If you when was WrestleMania 23? It was 2005 or 6 when Trump came in to do the Battle of the Billionaires with McMahon, and he basically came in. He had his run, and he was like this. He was babyface, but at the same time, some reason Trump was a babyface in that match, which I don't. I mean, I didn't want to cheer Trump, but at the same time, it was like Vince was the heel and Trump was the babyface, and I'm like, hell, Vince is such a convincing heel that he can turn Trump babyface. I don't know how he pulled that off, but he did. And and the Battle of the Billionaires thing, I forget who was in the match. It doesn't really matter who was in the match. The whole point is, there were two wrestlers. One wrestler represented McMahon, the other wrestler represented Trump, and the wrestler representing Trump won, which means McMahon had to go bald, and they shaved McMahon's head, which was hilarious. But yeah, that character Trump played, if you go back to those days, I think it was 2005 ish. If if you go back to that, it's essentially the character he ran for president. Is that same Trumpian character, and Trump became president. And the McMahons donated a lot of money to Trump. I mean, back in 2016, Umaga versus Bobby Lashley. Thank you. That's who it was. Yes, Umaga is no longer with us. He passed away, but yeah, that's who it was. It was Umaga versus Bobby Lashley. And Bobby Lashley won, and McMahon was forced to shave his head. Anyways, the point I was getting to is that Trump basically used that character to run for president, and I'm like, and it was so well done that Trump became president, basically doing what he did in WWE about 10 years before that when he did the Battle of the Billionaires. And the McMahons donated a shit ton of money to Trump. That's why Linda McMahon became the head of the Small Business Administration under Trump. Because they get Linda wanted to be in politics, says okay, she become the head of the Small Business Administration. Like who cares? Trump appointed her head of the Small Business Administration, and the excuse for that, if I remember correctly, it was like Linda helped Vince create WWE, and it was a small business then, so she'll be good, be the head of the Small Business Administration. And I'm like, come on, it was obviously a political appointment. McMahon's donated a shit ton of money to Trump in exchange. She got that. You know, she got that position. It's very similar to how Pete Buttigieg got the transportation secretary position because he endorsed Biden. So Biden handed him that position as political appointment. Disaster. I mean, it's been a disaster so far. But that's how Buttigieg became transportation secretary. He had no experience. At least in the McMahon had experience to the small business. back in the 80s when she helped her husband build up WWF. But Pete Buttigieg had zero experience in transportation. So that was a disaster from the word go, from the jump, basically. All right, so this video, this is a quick one. This is asking McMahon about his role in creative. What is role going to be creative in WWF or WWE? Excuse me. So it's like 19 seconds or something. So I'll just play this real quick. What is McMahon's role in creative? Whether he can have any say?
On the creative side, Vince, do you plan to be as involved as you have in the past on the creative side?
Yes and no.
What? Did you hear that? He said, hey, "Are you going to be involved in creative as much as you used to be?" I guess a no. What? He thought out of both sides of his mouth. He's like, yes. Oh, I meant no. I mean, yes and no. Well, this is what his justification for that.
On a higher level, yes.
On a higher level, yes. What does that mean? If you follow the WWE today, what does that mean? Basically protecting Roman Reigns in his world title run. That's what that means. He's going to decide when Roman Reigns loses the title. That's basically what that means. It's not be up to Triple H or Paul Levesque. I mean, that's actual legal name. But it's going to be up to McMahon, basically, when Roman Reigns drops the title or loses the championships. That's basically what he means by I'll be involved in high level decisions. That's basically what he means. It's Roman Reigns and his title run.
And the weeds, which I always love to get in the weeds in the past. No, can't do it.
In the weeds basically means booking the matches and the shows on Raw and SmackDown. That's what he means by in the weeds. You know, he won't get in the weeds anymore. Which, do I believe that? Maybe, because here's the difference. Triple H is his family. I mean, he's his son-in-law, and he's running creative today. So I don't think he would step on Triple H's toes the way he did with other people that he's hired over the years. Like Jerry Jarrett. When Vince thought he was going to jail, he hired Jerry Jarrett to run the company for him. But since Vince wasn't convicted in a steroid trial, so basically when Vince came back, he started. Jerry Jarrett booked a card or somewhere, I don't remember where, and Vince changed the entire card. So that's when Jerry Jarrett resigned. Is like, look, I mean, you're the only one, who could run WWF now, so I'm leaving. So that whole thing. But I don't think he would step on his son-in-law's toes the way that he stepped on other people's toes over the years. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he will step on Triple H's toes and he'll still run the shit. I don't know. But maybe I'm naive on that. But I don't think he would step on Triple H's toes the way he's done with other people over the years when it comes to creative. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
I do that.
On the creative
Oh, yeah. So basically he's saying that. Basically, McMahon is claiming, well, on the big decisions, yeah, I'll be involved. But on the minutia, on the weeds, on booking random episodes of Raw and SmackDown in July, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Basically, he'll be involved in when Roman Reigns drops the titles. That's the only thing he'll be involved in, really. Anything else, I think he'll leave to Triple H. That's basically what he's saying, at least what he's claiming there in that part of the interview. Let me see if there's anything else I need to bring up before I move on. Yep. WWE and UFC plan to merge, forming a new publicly listed company. It will be led by Endeavor CEO Ari Emanuel, with Vince McMahon as executive chairman. So not only is Vince McMahon running WWE, but he's the executive chairman of this company. So he'll also be overseeing the UFC, which is fascinating. Oh wow, this is incredible. So Vince McMahon bought the WWF for $1 million from his dad in 1982. Today, he just sold the WWE, I must say WWF, for $9.3 billion today. The profit on that is I can't calculate it in my head, but it's an incredible number. I wonder what that 1 million number is in inflation amount for today in today's dollars. But at the time he bought the WWF for $1 million from his dad in 1982. Oh, by the way, if you know the details of that deal, it turns out that McMahon, when he bought it from his dad, basically he would pay in installments based off the money that the WWF made. So in other words, he used company money to pay his dad the $1 million. So it's not like he actually paid out of his own pocket to buy the company from his dad. Jesus Christ! I mean, I'm telling, he's like the greatest businessman in the 20th century. I mean, I don't know who else would be better than McMahon when it comes down to just purely a ruthless, cutthroat businessman. Wow. All right, so that's that. So now I'm gonna move on to my next story. $1 down. Now the question is, will WWE get back in the pay-per-view business? I hope not, because I'm not paying pay-per-view dollars for these random pay-per-view events. Let's see, is anything new in this ESPN article before I move on? Yeah, I think this is just the same stuff I already went over, so. It's the same stuff I kind of went over. Whoops, I just closed that window. Alright, so let me go to, yeah, I have time. If I actually would go to where I need to go, then I could find the next story real quick. Jesus Christ. Let's go to. So, as I talked about, whoops, what did I just. The next story that I talked about in the beginning is the Russian blogger that was killed in a bombing in where is it? Oops, I went to the wrong place. That's why. The Russian blogger that was killed in a bombing in St. Petersburg, Russia. Well then, bear with me 1 second here. Here we go. This is going to be an MSNBC clip that I have here, but they cover it, so it's like, let me actually go and do this real quick. Would be nice if I actually shared the clip. All right, here we go.
All right, right, let's get back to that breaking news that we're following, everybody. Out of Russia, we're getting reporting about a well-known Russian military blogger being killed in a bomb blast. NBC foreign correspondent Matt Bradley is on this for us. Matt, if you will, what are we learning?
Yeah, well, we just saw this today. It was the death of a man named Vladimir Tatarsky. His real name is Maxim Fomin. And, you know, what we're learning is that this cafe was hit by what
I love how you butchered his name there.
looked like some sort of bomb blast, and there were more than a dozen people injured. But the only death so far that we're hearing from official Russian sources is this blogger. And when we talk about a blogger, we're talking about what we call here in Ukraine or in Russia a mill blogger. And this is like an actual community of people who have almost unofficial and increasingly official ties to the Russian government, in which, you know, they are party to information that they get from the Russian government, but they've also been increasingly critical of Russia's performance in this war, this sort of disastrous invasion that's now going on about 13 months into where I am now here in Ukraine. Now, this man, Tatarsky, he's notorious for a comment he made last year at an event that was held by Vladimir Putin to commemorate the annexation of 4 provinces, we call oblasts here, that, you know, he said basically, we will defeat everyone, we will kill everyone, we will rob everyone as necessary, just as we like it. So this is the kind of bellicose rhetoric that a lot of Ukrainians have gotten used to hearing from this mill blogger community. There are people who are both incredible champions of the war, of Russia's war here in Ukraine, but at the same time, they're very critical. And actually, Tatarsky said last year, he criticized, slammed the top brass of Russia as untrained idiots. It's unclear who caused this, but this is something that we're going to hear, I think, in the next couple of hours or days.
Who cares about that? The first casualty of any war is truth, 100%. I mean, because in order to justify any war, you have to use propaganda. Because if you don't, then most people are not going to want to kill other random people who did nothing to them. So that's why you have to be able to justify a war somehow. You have to be able to justify. This is a Reuters report, so let's check this out real quick.
A well-known Russian military blogger who championed Moscow's war effort.
Oh, by the way, it says warning graphic content. I don't know what that means. I haven't seen this video, so we'll see.
Was killed in a bomb blast at a St. Petersburg cafe on Sunday. The explosion injured dozens of other people in what appeared to be the second assassination on Russian soil of a figure closely associated with the war on Ukraine. Vladimir Tatarsky has more than 500,000 followers on Telegram. Russia's TASS news agency said the bomb was hidden in a...
Russian reporters and Russian bloggers have to go to Telegram now in order to actually report the news. Because if they don't, then they'll be they've been censored off every social media platform, pretty much, except for Telegram. So that's why they have to go to Telegram in order to report the news coming out of Russia. So, because YouTube won't let them, Facebook won't let them, Instagram won't let them, TikTok, I'm not sure about TikTok, but they only do a minute-long videos there, so that wouldn't work. Pretty much every other platform has censored them, so they have to go to Telegram.
In a miniature statue handed to him as he addressed a group of people in the cafe. There was no indication Sunday night as to who was behind the blast. However, Russia's state...
So what? There's no indication who did it. So what, you think the Russians bombed and killed a blogger in their own country? And, I mean, that seems to be the implication here. Oops.
Investigative committee said it had opened a murder investigation. Tatarsky's real name was Maxim Fomin. He was one of the most prominent military bloggers that championed the war in Ukraine, while also being critical of Moscow's top military brass. The group has enjoyed broad freedom from the Kremlin to publish hard-hitting views on the war, now in its 14th month. Last September, Tatarsky was at a Kremlin ceremony attended by hundreds to proclaim Russia's annexation of 4 partly held regions of Ukraine, a move rejected by most countries as illegal. In a video from that ceremony, Tatarsky said, quote, "We'll defeat everyone. We'll kill everyone. We'll rob everyone we need to. Everything will be as we like it."
Just because the rest of the world says, oh no, the annexation or the alleged annexation in these countries is illegal. Based on what? Based on the U.S.'s interpretation of international law? That's basically what they're basing it off of. Unbelievable.
On Sunday, a member of Russia's Wagner mercenary group said that he, quote, would not blame the Kiev regime for Tatarsky's death. The Russia-installed leader of the occupied part of Donetsk pointed the finger at Ukraine for Tatarsky's death.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be the first obvious suspect. The Ukrainians actually killed this guy because he was pro-Russia and he was really prominent, you know, a prominent pro-Russia vlogger. Which I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's Ukraine Kiev is the obvious suspect here. I mean, why would if somebody let's say a random Russian had a problem with them, they wouldn't resort to bombing and kill a bunch of innocent people. What they would do is probably he's walking on the street to shoot him or stab him or whatever. You know, you wouldn't. I don't think a random Russian would just bomb a restaurant and just kill everybody alongside with him. So there had to be a state-sponsored operation, and the obvious suspect is Ukraine. So I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out it was Ukraine.
Without providing evidence. Meanwhile, a Ukrainian presidential advisor said domestic terrorism was breaking out in Russia. The blogger's death follows the killing of Daria Dugina last August, the daughter of an ultra-nationalist, by a car bomb attack near Moscow. At that time, Russia accused Ukraine's secret services of killing her, while Kiev denied involvement.
All right. So the Ukrainians clearly killed that woman too. I mean, they can deny it all they want, but doesn't mean that they didn't kill that woman. Of course they did. I mean, it's so obvious. Now let me go to the Wall Street Journal journalist that was arrested in Russia for espionage. Here we go.
We have more.
Jose Diaz-Balart again. I think I covered one of his clips last week on Friday. So this is the Wall Street Journal that was arrested in Russia for espionage. So let's check this out. Let's see what MSNBC. I'm sure they'll have a meltdown about this, but we'll see.
We have more breaking news, this time out of Russia. Overnight, an American journalist for the Wall Street Journal was arrested in Russia on an accusation of spying for the U.S. And just hours ago, a Moscow court ordered him to be held until at least the 29th of May. A spokesperson for the Wall Street Journal released a statement saying the Wall Street Journal vehemently denies the allegations from Russia's Federal Security Service and seeks the immediate release of our trusted and dedicated reporter, Evan Gershkovich. We stand in solidarity with Evan and his family. Senior administration official tells NBC News the White House officials have been in touch with the Journal. Gershkovich is now the first journalist from an American outlet to be arrested on espionage charges in Russia since the Cold War. Joining us now is NBC's Matt Bodner, and still with us, NBC's Kristen Welker at the White House. Matt, you know Evan well. What can you tell us about him and what he is facing?
Thanks, Jose. Well, I've known Evan for about 6 years now, since he first showed up in Moscow to work for the Moscow Times. I was based in Moscow for a long time. I also came out of the Moscow Times. And it's not a very large community, so all of the foreign journalists and a lot of the Russian journalists know each other very well. So this is, of course, shocking. Evan was I would say, one of the best journalists in the Moscow journalism community, especially in recent years.
By the way, I never heard of this fucker, so I have no opinion one way or another about him. This guy got arrested in Russia for espionage or alleged espionage, but But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, as Karen said in the chat earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that he was a spy of some kind. Because I never heard of him, and allegedly he works for the Wall Street Journal, which is interesting. I never heard of him, so that's why it's kind of weird that all of a sudden he works for the Wall Street Journal and now he's arrested for espionage. So yeah, it's just, I'm not saying that he's definitely guilty of espionage, but I wouldn't be surprised if the CIA turned him and he ended up becoming a spy of some kind in Russia.
Years. He did a lot of really great reporting on topics such as Russian civil society and the Russian opposition. And I think, if you've read something in recent years,
right there. Hold on, let me go back a second.
Especially in recent, the Russian journalists know each other very well. So this is of course shocking. Evan, I would say one of the best journalists in the Moscow journalism community, especially in recent years. He did a lot of really great reporting on topics such as Russian civil society and the Russian opposition. And I think
The Russian opposition. He did good reporting on the Russian opposition. In other words, promoting Vladimir Putin's political enemies. So this is what's, in my opinion at least, this is what's leading to these espionage charges, because ultimately he was promoting the political enemies of Vladimir Putin. Again, I mean, it doesn't mean his arrest is justified. Again, I don't know the details. I'm just giving my opinion based on the reporting that I've seen so far. Something's different with the eyes. Whose eyes? The reporter or this dude? This dude, the four-eyed geek there.
If you've read something in recent years that was really strong on those topics, there's a good chance that Evan wrote it. So it's obviously very deeply shocking to hear that he's been charged with espionage. There's a lot of questions about this case. I unfortunately don't think we're ever going to hear very much in the way of details about what Evan's facing, about what he's specifically been accused of. One thing I think that we should all be keeping in mind here is how much this looks like another very famous case with an American in Russia, that being Paul Whelan, who was arrested in 2017 on espionage charges. He's still in Russian custody, still on those charges. But that entire case was conducted in court with secret evidence. We never got much insight into what was happening in those courtrooms. And Evan's going to be put through a very similar process. So it could take some time. There's not going to be a lot of transparency, but we've already seen the Russian government today sort of tip its hand on how it feels about this incident. So we saw statements from the Russian Foreign Ministry, the Kremlin itself, saying Evan was caught red-handed, essentially. And the Russian Foreign Ministry statement was very strong, saying that it was yet another example. They didn't provide details, but yet another example of foreign journalists, Western journalists, using the Russian journalist accreditation to pursue goals that are not journalistic, as they said in their statement. So that obviously raises a lot of questions. Unfortunately, I'm just not sure we're going to get answers to those questions, at least in due time.
All right, so Wall Street Journal journalists arrested, charged with espionage. The Russians, assure us that they have evidence for this, so it's only a matter of time. It might take some time, but we'll see. And is there anything else?
We've got more breaking
news. An American arrested in Russia.
We've got more breaking news, this time from Russia, where an American reporter has been arrested and accused of espionage. Russian security officials claim that Evan Gershkovich, he works for the Wall Street Journal, was trying to obtain classified information. Charlie D'Agata has more on the arrest. It was revealed just a few hours ago. Charlie, good morning to you. What can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, good morning, Gail. Well, he was arrested hundreds of miles east of Moscow, and the spokesman for President Putin said he was caught red-handed, those are his words, collecting information about the Russian military complex. He's accused of espionage. That carries a 20-year sentence. The 31-year-old reporter has been working for the Wall Street Journal in Moscow since January 2022, but he had previous experience reporting from Russia. In a statement, the Wall Street Journal vehemently denies the allegations and seeks his immediate release. Gail?
Boy, caught red-handed, never a good sign coming from Russia. But, Charlie, I want to ask you this because...
I love that. She's like, Gail something is her name. She's like, oh, well, I mean, it's not good when the Russians say you were caught red-handed. So she just assumes that they're lying. That's what her assumption is. Her assumption is, well, they must be lying, right? An American would never spy in on Russia in their military operations. No. I mean, we were good guys. No American journalists would ever do that, right, guys?
Because you've reported inside Russia for years and years. In your experience, what does this arrest mean to you? When you first heard it, what did you think?
Well, my first thought was, uh-oh. We haven't been there since the invasion began, since Russia invaded Ukraine for precisely this reason. Now, in March of last year, President Putin and the government put in these new laws saying the spread of knowingly false information about Russian armed forces would be illegal. The spread of knowingly false information about Russian state bodies would be illegal. That made it difficult for Westerners, Americans especially, to work within Russia itself, because as we know, some of the reporting that we've done in Ukraine, as far as the Russians are concerned, is fake. It's false reporting. So for us to...
Because for the most part, it is fake and false reporting. Unbelievable how you would say, well, the Russians claim that our reporting is mostly fake and false, guy. I mean, how dare they, right? No, because it is false. Look, I'm not saying that it's right for them to claim that it's illegal, but at the same time, it is false reporting what you guys are doing. I mean, it's not like you guys are actually reporting what's going on the ground. With the Ukrainians doing torture and they're killing innocents for no reason. No, I mean, you would never report that. CBS News would never report that. They report on all of Russia's alleged war crimes, but they will never report on Ukraine's war crimes, which we see all over the internet. They'll act like it doesn't exist.
To be able to report inside Russia, which would obviously be helpful, is impossible right now. There are only a handful of Western reporters in Russia, let alone Americans. Gail?
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Charlie D'Agata, thank you, reporting from London.
All right, so that's that. Reporting from London. Let's see, is there anything else? Wow, this happened 4 days ago and I missed this somehow? I thought his arrest was yesterday or something. It happened 4 days ago, apparently. Wow. 4 days ago would have been...
We're continuing to follow...
It would have been Sunday, Saturday, Thursday. How did I miss that? Let's watch a little bit of this.
Breaking news on the arrest of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich. Russian officials detained the U.S. citizen for suspicion of spying. That's according to state media outlets in Russia. The arrest comes just months after the highly publicized prisoner swap involving WNBA superstar Brittany Griner. So let's bring in NBC News foreign correspondent Kelly Kopiella from our London bureau for more. Kelly, good morning. So lots of questions here. What more do we know about the journalist arrested? Where is he being held? What kind of work was he doing? And have we gotten a response from the outlet?
Well, we don't know a lot specifically about the details of him being detained. The Russian security services, the FSB, says that Gershkovich was arrested in Yekaterinburg. That's about 900 miles east of Moscow. They didn't say when he was arrested or where he's being held. They're accusing him of stealing military secrets for the U.S. government and said the charge carries a 20-year prison term. Now, the Wall Street Journal has released a statement this morning. They've said that they're deeply concerned for Gershkovich's safety. They also said in this statement that the Journal vehemently denies the allegations from the FSB and seeks the immediate release of our trusted and dedicated reporter, Evan Gershkovich. We stand in solidarity with Evan and his family. Gershkovich is in his early 30s. He's from New Jersey. His parents are from Russia.
Oh, that's interesting. This dude is from New Jersey. Well, I'm from New Jersey, too, so he's a fellow New Jerseyite. Interesting. Didn't know that.
originally. They fled Russia in the 1980s before he was born. But look, he's a seasoned reporter. He's a Russian speaker. He's been covering this region for several years, and he is fully accredited to work as a journalist in that country. Clay.
And Kelly, clearly high stakes. You mentioned a potential 20-year prison sentence. We're also hearing that the Russian court may be holding a hearing right now. How does this impact the already high tensions between the U.S. and Russia?
Well, it certainly ratchets up the tension between the two countries, especially given all that's happened over just the past couple of weeks with the drone incident. And, you know, it goes without saying that it's become very difficult for American journalists to work in Russia, for foreign journalists to work in Russia, particularly since the war in Ukraine.
No, Western journalists. That's a Western alleged journalist. That's what, you know, it's become difficult for them to work because ultimately, you know, Western journalists are doing propaganda for Western governments, specifically the United States. I mean, no, I don't blame the Russians for looking at these journalists and like these Western journalists like, oh yeah, I mean, clearly they're trying to do propaganda to, you know, to trying to, you know, mess up our war efforts here. So I really don't blame the Russians. For questioning these journalists. Do they have evidence that this journalist in particular did espionage? I don't know. I haven't seen the evidence, so that's why I'm saying alleged espionage. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that definitely these that person, they did espionage. That this particular journalist was termed by the CIA in order to do espionage and deliver Russian military secrets to the U.S. I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out they actually did have evidence if that's the truth, and it turns out that's the truth. You know. What's this? Oh, okay. Let me see. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Let's see here. Anything else before I wrap up? Because I don't want to keep this blabbing blabbing away without actually having anything important to say. No, I guess that's gonna do it because I have to cook dinner soon, and I also have other things I have to do in the next. So I have another video I have to make, but that'll be a standalone video on my channel. And if you're a wrestling fan, I'm sure you want to watch it. If not, then I'm sure you're not going to watch it. You're not going to care anyways. Well, that'll do it for this stream, episode 12. I hope you guys enjoyed. I should be back tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I'll be doing episode 13 tomorrow. Yes, I cook dinner every other day. So Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays I usually cook. So today's Monday, so I cooked today. So yes, I'm a cook. I cook in my house. I'm the one that does it. Nobody else does it. So yeah, I have to wrap up so I can set up for cooking dinner. And I have another video I have to make too before I actually start cooking dinner. So I want to thank you guys for joining me, episode 12. Episode 13 will be tomorrow at the same time. So I hope you guys join me in that. I don't know what I'm talking about yet. I'm sure I'll figure it out by tonight. So I'll have some sort of tweet or something promoting tomorrow's stream. But I want to thank everybody for watching. That's great. My husband won't cook. Yeah, I mean, I've ended up cooking. I ended up with the responsibility of cooking myself. So I kind of ended up with it, you know, like I actively wanted to cook, but I kind of ended up with it. I'm a pretty good cook, I think. So I posted some of my cooking on Twitter, so people tend to like what they see. So it's like I think I'm a pretty good cook. Well, I want to thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, 2:15 Eastern. Hope you guys are able to join me. Please like the stream. Please subscribe to my channels. Please subscribe to INN's YouTube channels and their other channels. The links in the description box below. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, afternoon. I don't know why I said morning, but I meant afternoon. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of the night.